Hey, what up, Beasts and B-Sets? Matt Holmes here, bodysynergytraining.com and tackwads.com, coming to you with another feature interview. And today we got a special guest, Jason Pegg, on the line for you guys, which is going to be awesome. It's taken us a little while to get our schedules down, which tends to happen, I think, just about with everybody that I try and get an interview on for all you guys. So I'm excited for it. Jason's got an awesome story, everything he's done within the military background and powerlifting and the jiu-jitsu and all that stuff, and it's really interesting. So he's a great guest that I wanted to have on here for you guys. So, again, thanks a lot for taking the time, Jason.
I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And everybody, it's a Memorial Day, so it's kind of awesome to have them on here and us kind of talking about military stuff. So, because it's obviously a big meaning for both of us. So, it's kind of special, even though this will be on Friday when everybody will see it. But, yeah, we'll just pretend. All right, so, I know you got a decent story. And it's not a simple of like, oh, what's your best lifts? Because, we could do that, but there's a story also behind what you've done within powerlifting in your lifts, starting with the military. So I guess we'll kind of start there of, when you were in and, how long and all, leading up to obviously I won't give any spoilers here for people that haven't heard it. But, your incident and then recovering from that and then obviously into the powerlifting stuff. So I'll let you kind of go through all of that.
I'm not going to give it away. We're going to talk about your injury and your recovery. That kind of ruins it.
Well, people don't know. They don't know what happened. They're like, ooh, what happened? He got injured?
Oh, no. Yeah. No, at all. Where do you want me to start the story? I guess that'd make it easier because I can make it real long or I can tighten it up.
Well, I guess kind of when you started in, because I know you were in 2504 and everything like that. And so kind of when you got enlisted, airborne, all that stuff, all the way getting into the 82nd and deployment stuff.
Okay. I started out, man, I enlisted October 2nd, 2001. It was not too long after 9/11. And to be completely honest, it wasn't really a huge sense of national pride. I know that sounds bad. I'm not going to say that it didn't help, but it wasn't like, oh, man, just got to go out and shoot terrorists. It was a thing, kind of a culmination of my life. I was not happy where I was at. It wasn't a bad place for a 21-year-old kid, but as like, I was looking at it, and as a 35-year-old man, it's like, I was tending bar, working as a correctional officer and drinking a lot, which, as a kid, not a problem. As an adult, it was that point. So I ended up enlisting, went to basic training and airborne school at Fort Benning School for Boys. Spent some time there. Fairly uneventful. I did get beat up by a sergeant major at airborne school. And there's another story that I can't tell. It's an amazing story, though. Guy ended up, it's a story about karma. Let's just say a guy, when I got beat up by that sergeant, but like legit, no shit, E9, National Guard sergeant major, and he was literally 3.5 feet tall, but ended up beating me up, and it's like, I'm not going to fight him. You know what I mean? I'm a private. I've been out airborne or out of basic training for 10 minutes, so it's one of those like, but anyway, end up getting called in front of the first sergeant. And it's like, I'm trying to talk to the first sergeant. This E7 is just firing off. Blah, blah, blah. You call him Sergeant Major a liar? I'm like, no, just that's not what happened. But anyway, and this guy just is like trying to crush me in front of the first sergeant, and there were like 15 black hats on myself in this room, which, very, very intimidating. But ends up, there was a couple things that happened. About 2 weeks later, I found out he got his foot cut off. Kind of shitty, but karma, because I still maintain that I was in the right. And there was some other stuff that happened too that I'm not going to go into, but karma got him pretty good. Anyway, moving on from that, I went up the street to RIP, spent some time there, Ranger Battalion. I've hurt myself out of there. Ended up going to Bragg, which is funny because I was hurt so long at actually at that point it was attached to HHC, 75th Ranger Regiment, which is RIP. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. Not a big deal. But spent so much time there, I couldn't do PT. It was on profile, shit like that.
It's funny. Well,
Like,
it's kind of funny that you mentioned that because that was the same, almost the same route I went up going up there, and then, but when I was there, it was RASP after they changed it from RIP, and then I ended up getting hurt, and then they basically kicked my ass out and said, "Come back later," and
yeah,
I was going to brag.
yeah, I mean that's exactly what happened to me. At that point, they were, this was in the spring of 2002. Like first rotation was coming back. 3rd Battalion guys were coming back from when they invaded Afghanistan originally. So it's like that, and they were at that point they were at 110% of MTO 411 Bravos. So it was like if you're going to be on profile more than 2 weeks, you're done. This is for guys that are in battalion. This is for guys that are trying to get in. They jack the standards up something ridiculous. I don't have a problem with that, but it's on profile for like a month. But it's funny because I go to brag, and I'm sitting there and end up, when you do the intake and stuff like that, you have to do a PT test. Failed it. Sit-ups. I passed the run and the push-ups, and somehow just failed the sit-ups. But yeah, so that caught me down the street. Then ended up going to 2nd Battalion, 504. Intimately familiar. Went to scenic Afghanistan, interacted with the nice people of Iraq. Back to Afghanistan again. Then, that's pretty much it for my military career. With my second trip to Afghanistan. I don't know do you want me to tell the story now?
Yeah, we can go into it now.
All right. Basically, the short version is 6 weeks into my second deployment to Afghanistan, I caught an IED, and it essentially took my left arm off the elbow. Fortunately, it didn't. I've got a lot of reduced function with it and stuff now. It's only got 90 degrees of flexion. Can't supinate or pronate at all. Extension's limited to if 180 degrees is a straight line, it's about 130, I think. 135. And then, obviously there's a lot of soft tissue damage and fine motor skill loss and stuff like that. It's funny. Like I can't really touch my face with it. I look like a retarded kid, which is how it goes. It's like people see me do this and try and feed myself. But I mean, it's been a while. That was in 2005. Actually, ironically, it was Memorial Day 2005. The date was different, but it was Memorial Day. So, a little bit of irony there. It was actually May 31st at that point. So, hey, happy Memorial Day. Here's payday. Go ahead and get blown up and leave your shit all over the street here.
Go earn this money.
Yeah, but then ended up spending the next 18 months at Walter Reed, had a shitload of surgeries, debridements and reconstructions type stuff. And the wound was so deep and just so big, it took almost 14 months for it to close completely.
Wow.
Yeah, because they had, they were packing it every day with, it's like iodine tape, probably like an eighth of an inch piece of fabric soaked in iodine that they would pack in it. And at night it would pull it out, pack it in again. And do that 2 or 3 times a day for months.
That gets so annoying.
No, I mean, it's one of those things. Like it's on the outside of my arm, which my joint mobility is not the best. But if you look right now, you can't see the outside of your forearm. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. Like they'll just have people do it. I'm sure they got tired of seeing me. Like, hey, here again. You ready to do this? But, one of those things. But I mean. But ended up spending 18 months at Walter Reed. I got out actually in November 2006 was when I was actually retired. And then I went back home to Indiana. But went back home to Indiana, started doing some powerlifting with some guys that I'd known there. It's funny you mentioned Matt Winning. Matt's a guy that I've known for years. And he actually was doing some powerlifting stuff there in Muncie. So I just kind of went and started training with those guys. I'd done a lot of it when I was in the Army, standard West Side type conjugate periodization stuff. It was more geared towards carrying a ton of stuff up and down the sides of mountains and things like that, being able to fight as opposed to, just strictly limit strength. But it worked well for me. So, I just kind of carried it on from there into, after the Army. But, I got out, like I said, start powerlifting with them, and then just kind of depending on perspective, either uphill or downhill from there.
Well, yeah, because I remember hearing that once before. It was like after your recovery and you got into it, like you ended up getting some pretty decent numbers on the lifts, right? After you fully kind of recovered and put some time under the bar.
Man, actually, yeah, I did end up doing pretty well for myself, especially considering where I was at, just with the recovery and the time as I spent, 18 months, almost 5 months of it, I think. I could be way wrong. I don't remember. I get hit in the head real hard too. Have a hard time remembering stuff. So, but I want to say it was like 4 or 5 months, maybe 3. I honestly don't remember. But as an inpatient, like laying in a bed, but I'd lost a shitload of weight. Like when I got out the first time, I couldn't walk, like literally could not walk 100 yards without having to stop and sit down. Just completely smoked. I lost like 70 pounds in like a month and a half.
Crazy.
Yeah, well, the drugs and stuff, because at that point, it's like it started to kind of swing away from it, but the pendulum was way towards pain management. So it's like, oh, I think my finger hurts. And they're like, cool, take this Dilaudid. So I was just loaded up on narcotics, and apparently they thought I was going to be crazy because they're giving me all sorts of fucking psych meds that make me just feel awful. So I'm like, I don't need these. They're like, well, just take them. I'm like, I don't want them. We'll take them. So like, okay, take them. Like you see in the fucking movies where you're like, and they spit them in the fucking trash. Shit like that. It was nuts. Crazy story for you. And then Dow Hassan, the guy that shot up all those fucking people at Fort Hood.
Yeah.
Part of my psychiatry team at Walter Reed.
Now that's a interesting coincidence on that one.
Yeah, well, that's what it's fucking weird because I saw him on the, like when it was terrible that happened. But I saw him and was like, after it happened, like, this is a suspect. And I'm like, I know this dude. How do I know this dude? And it's like I go through and I've got you've probably got them too, but I've got copies of all my medical records for everything. And this dude's name and signature on some of the psych forms. I'm just like, holy shit. Yeah, but that was, yeah, that's what I thought. My mom's like, holy shit, because my parents remembered seeing him come in when they were down to visit. My mom lost her mind. She thought like we were buddies or something because she's like, are you going to get in trouble for this? I'm like, Mom, are you fucking retarded?
Do you need to go see somebody? Or
Yeah, but no, Mom is awesome. And it's funny because I was kidding.
Yeah.
I sort of like, with some of the stuff, like I'm not sure she's being completely sarcastic. Like she knew that I was not going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
And I know that she's not retarded, but it was just like, I remember that conversation. And it was like, Mom was like, what do you want me to do? They're not going to call and be like, hey, tell us about him.
Yeah.
That was kind of crazy. But yeah, man, ended up leaving Walter Reed, after a year and a half. Like I said, started powerlifting with Matt. And it was actually at that point, it was Ball State University's powerlifting team was what he'd done, what Matt had started. And it was, honestly, it was like 4 or 5 guys that were exercise science students, and some, a couple of them were doing undergrad. I think a couple of guys were in the master's program. And we were training at this guy's, he had a gym and it was a shithole. Like it was awful. It was all our equipment. Like he wouldn't change anything. I swear to God, there was a tree growing through the roof at one point. It was funny though, because he literally just we paid him $25 a month a piece and he just gave us like the back room of his shit. And we trained back there and just tried to, because Matt was at that point, he had either just left, was getting ready to leave to go to West Side to train and, do stuff with Lou, but had been doing all the programming and stuff for the team. So it was very West Side centric, bands and chains and 47 different bars to do good mornings with, shit like that. It was funny. I remember the first time I went out there, they were max effort box squat. It was a safety squat bar with chains, like 2 or 3 chains aside, because nobody at that point was really strong. Nobody was weak, you know what I mean? But it's 21 and 22-year-old college kids. But I absolutely got smashed. I think the weight on the bar was 225, and one chain, two chains maybe, completely stapled to the box. Like couldn't move. I could like lift my head up and roll a bar, but I could not. They literally had to pull it off of me. It was so bad. But ended up at that point. I was continued my career as a professional gym lifter. Windler still gives me shit about this, but I've gained notoriety as the guy that peaks a week out every fucking time. It was bad. I mean, it sounds bad. I honestly didn't care that much. I liked the training. The meets were fun. It was good seeing buddies, because I do living in Ohio and stuff like that, or Indiana at the time. There's a lot of the big meets are here in Columbus. You have the WPO, and then the SPF Pro-Am and all that shit was coming in. It was a good time and stuff like that. But, I mean, you have guys like Brian Carroll and, his guys flying up from Florida, guys California, guys you only see at these big meets and stuff. So it was more social for me almost. Yeah. I'd lift and stuff like that, but I look forward more to just getting drunk and hanging out than the actual lifting itself. But, yeah, man, I had this bad about that. A week or two out, it was killing weights. Come to the meet and just get crushed. Take this. Oh, this is going to be easy. Stapled. Oh, let's take it again. Stapled. Fucking. And I can't bench. So it's like I open at like 890 in the squat, easy lift. Go to 1,000, can't move it twice. Bench like 45 pounds. Just take the bar. Just jump elbow. I mean, actually, I think I ended up setting a PR like 330. Of course, I benched raw dog, which is not huge by any means, but it's like literally I wouldn't even train. I'd just be like, take it, put it back. Yeah, it was good. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that would be the only time I would lay flat on the bench until the next meet. And you know what I mean? So it wasn't too bad. And then I think my best pull is like 755, maybe less. It sounds bad. I don't care. No, I don't remember. I think I've got it written down somewhere.
Yeah, because I remember because you did end up getting over one of your best squats was over 1,000, right?
Yes, in the gym. My best meet squat was like 980. I remember I was just gonna I just kind of work up to it because I was taking stupid jumps. Like literally, I would open to 890 and then go to 1,000. Because I'm like, oh, this is gonna be easy. You know what I mean? I doubled 910. With the straps down 2 weeks ago, not a problem. Doubles and triples with this. 1,000 pounds buried. I'm like, oh, this sucks. So I was just trying to work up to it. So I think like my best squat in a meet was like 980. That could be off. Like I said, I know it's bad. I just don't care. It's just lifting weights. You know what I mean? Like I'm interested in the training aspect, but like the competition part, I just kind of didn't really cared about. I mean, but it was fun. I don't want to tell you that it was half-assing it, but it's like if I had a shit meet, it wasn't like my life was over for the next 12 weeks until I could compete again. Yeah. You see some of these guys, and this is not a knock on anybody by any means. You see some of these dudes on Facebook, and they bomb out of a meet, and it's like their family's dead. You know what I mean? I mean, if they're that into it, that's cool. I was never into it like that. It was always a hobby. I was decent at it. I'm not going to tell you it was good. I never set a world record.
Yeah.
Best 2 week out guy in the fucking gym, but but I mean, like I'm not gonna knock anybody for it, but it was never, oh my God, I gotta get this, or my family's gonna die. I never had that sense of urgency with it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it absolutely. I wouldn't change it for anything. The networking aspect, especially when I got picked up by Dave Tate and Elite Fitness, those guys as a log, something to follow. It's definitely very cool, but, like I met a lot of amazing people. Jim Windler worked there. That's how I met him, and, I'd call him one of my best friends on the planet. You know what I mean? Like I said, AJ, you were talking about AJ earlier. I know AJ very well, and it's because of that. So I'm very fortunate in that sense. I met some absolutely amazing people, but I don't I can't knock it, but it definitely is no longer – powerlifting like that is no longer for me.
Yeah. And so kind of what, I know you've made a lot of, I see it on Facebook and this and that. Like, I know you're doing a lot of jiu-jitsu now and making all these posts about, doing your blood tests and this and that. Like, kind of what's the shift that you're going at now then?
Honestly, man, the blood tests are for HRT doc. I'm sure you're familiar with Dr. Serrano, Eric Serrano. He's John Meadows' doctor, Dave Tate's. He's here in Columbus. Has worked with a lot of those guys. The guy that I'm going to is in a in a very similar vein. I had I'm not going to for personal reasons. I'm not going to delve into the things that happen, but there are things that you get into when you try to compete at the highest levels of sport, or you just like me, and they have some physical repercussions. You know what I mean? Things like that. So I'm going to see him. I honestly think at this point that it would just, if nothing else, 34 years old, and he's a sports guy. He's not just an endocrinologist.
Yeah.
He's not just a cardiac guy, but just to make sure that my heart and liver and kidneys and all that stuff are functioning optimally. It's not like I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm going in looking for 400 milligrams a week, HRT script. That would be cool. Not what I'm going for. You know what I mean? But it's he's much more in tune than your standard general practitioner as far as like just the athletic metabolic and stuff like that side of it.
Oh yeah, anytime I can go to anytime I can go to someone does sports themselves, like I have my chiropractor, out in LA, and I send everybody to him, and that's one of the things I say. I'm like, hey, you know what? Go to him, because he's not just a chiropractor that's a normal guy. Like, he's done a lot on nutrition, this and like a lot of extensive extracurriculum stuff. Mm-hmm. And he's also a professional cyclist and was like, the U.S. champion at one point for a couple of years or things like. So it's like he understands more than just a guy that you go and like, oh, I was like, I could tell him, I was lifting, doing this, and I could kind of feel here. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, he understands because he knows he's not a hardcore lifter, but doing sports, it's way different than just talking to a doctor that knows the body, but they don't know a fucking thing about touching a weight.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, it's a thing. It's like, I put in an application to talk to this cat, like to see this guy like in August. And literally just 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks ago is when I had my appointment, my new patient consultation. They're that backed up, and it's just, but apparently, I've got a lot of buddies who go to him. Actually, a couple of the guys were Dr. Serrano's patients and left because this guy's just easier to deal with.
Yeah.
But, he does stuff like one of the guys ended up he's got all sorts of thyroid issues and stuff like that. But, can talk to insurance stuff like that. And, we'll look at tests and realize like a free testosterone range, a normal lab may say run between 200 and 800. Those could be way wrong. It's just an example.
Yeah.
But like, your standard endocrinologist sees you at 248 and it's like, oh, you're good to go. You don't need anything. Well, this guy's like, well, you're at 248. What can we do to get you to, 780? If 800 is that top end, he wants you to, essentially get what you pay for, I guess.
Yeah, get the most out of it.
It's optimized. But he's got physical therapists and physician's assistants. He's got nutritionists. His staff is like 13 people. I've been there, like I said, I've been there twice and I haven't even seen the guy yet.
Shit.
Yeah, but he's got it tricked out. He's got a DEXA in his office. And it's one of the big ass ones with the big ass tables. It was funny. I was talking to Dr. Mike Israetel. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not. Renaissance Periodization. He does a diet nutrition company, but he's actually a doctor. He has a PhD, and he's going to get MAG, so he's jack it up. But it's a sports physiology.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean, like that. But we were talking. He got a DEXA done. He's doing a bodybuilding show, and was like, I couldn't fit on ours. And I was thinking, like, this table is literally, it's gigantic. But they had an EKG that hooked me up to urinalysis. They took 9 vials of blood. You know what I mean? It was like, wow, awesome. Leave here with anemia. This is sweet.
It's
but
like it was the next, human machine or something going on in there, what they're doing. all the
Yeah.
all the stuff, all the tests and everything that they're taking on you, the new Bionic Man or something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I mean. Like I said, but they look to optimize everything.
Yeah,
So I'm greatly looking forward to it. We'll see how it goes.
that'll be awesome. Be interesting to hear. And so, how long you've been doing the jujitsu and stuff now? Then, how's that going? Especially with your kind of limited range of motion.
I started in January of last year, 2013. Just something to do. Just honestly, grown completely stale of just lifting. Um, I've always enjoyed lifting, but it was like I needed some sort of competitive outlet, if you will. And I was like, well, let's try this. It's like because I'd done stuff, was trying to get my weight down, and I had high blood pressure for a long time. I was trying to get my blood pressure under control. Things like that. And I was like, oh, well, let's try this. So I ended up getting into that, and it's like crack, man. I just can't get can't get enough of it. I mean, it's like I would go if I could fit in work and the strength training and the jiu-jitsu. I'd train 14 times a week. I mean, it's awesome, and honestly, I'm kind of fortunate that they have essentially there are two ways of competing. They have what they call a gi, which is like if you've ever seen GSP walk out for UFC. The thing that looks like pajamas he's got on, that's a jiu-jitsu gi. His may be karate, but it's Hayabusa, so it's probably never mind. Anyway, sorry, it's another tangent. He does karate, which is gay, but that, and then they have what they call no-gi, submission grappling, kind of like you see in the UFC without strikes. See guys rolling around on the ground, trying to get submission, stuff like that. But I found with the gi, it kind of it'll let you take grips because you can obviously grab their clothes. You can take grips and things like that to where the limited range of motion and stuff that I have in my arm is not a huge deal. It's there's absolutely no way I could do the no-gi stuff. Like I'd try it, but like to be competitive at all would be, I don't know. You ever tried to shovel smoke? It'd be about as effective.
That's funny. It's and it's kind of it makes me think how you're talking about the gi and the no gi. Like I remember plenty of times going in because when I was in, they were doing your combatives. I think were different back then because they didn't have like the MACP like they do now, the modern Army combatives fucking program or whatever it's called now. And doing it when you don't have your top on, and you're in PT gear or you're in your pants. And then when you have the top on, it makes it totally different, especially like you're saying you can grab people differently and then luckily I had someone teach me all the illegal shit you're not supposed to actually do in competition, like choking people out with their own sleeves.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I mean. It's funny, dude. You can use the lapels on them are real thick.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can usually choke shit out of people that are in clothes. I do it all the time. Get it done to me all the time. Kind of sucks, but it's fun. You know what I mean? It's one of those, it's like, well, yeah, it sucks because you choked me, but at the same time, I was trying to choke you, and you got me.
Yeah.
It's like
choked me first.
Yeah, well, it's like what they do, boxing smokers and stuff like that. Like it's fun to fight, but it's 34 years old, getting punched in the face hurts. You know what I mean? That's why like people that watch UFC and talk all this shit, I'm like, it's like, dude, that sucks. What do you mean? I'm like, this guy trains in boxing and is punching you in the face. Like if you don't see how that sucks, you just obviously have never been in a fight.
Yeah,
you've never gotten hit real hard.
Some Joe on the street. It's a guy that trains to punch you as hard as he can.
Yeah, and that sucks, and I don't want to deal with that anymore. I don't want to have to explain to my kids why daddy's face is all busted up.
Yeah, you look at these guys that are professionals after their fight, and some of them will be like, depending obviously on the fight, sometimes they don't look that bad, and then sometimes you look and you're like, oh, like their face went through a meat grinder.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't want to deal with that. You know what I mean? It's like I'm never going to fight in UFC. You know what I mean? I would never make a dime as any sort of professional fighter.
Yeah.
I don't want to walk around for 2 weeks and have to explain it. Yeah, some dude throttled me on purpose, and I let him. When I just say when I'm trying to go to work, and they're like, "Oh, why is your eye swollen shut?" And I got blasted in the face about 15 times. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, it hurts. Yes, it is sore. okay,
I didn't make any money on it either because it's
yeah,
not
exactly.
that high realm.
Yeah, exactly. It was down at the Knights of Columbus, the bingo hall. It was cool. There were 74 other fights on the card, and 38 dudes didn't show. I fought 9 times. Shit like that. I mean, it's like that's why I said this guy's. It's I'll talk shit, but you have to respect those. I mean, to want to go there and be like, yeah, I'm just gonna let him punch me in the face, so I can try and punch him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty hardcore when you think of it like that. So, one thing I wanted to bring on, that I kind of talked to you briefly about before when we were doing this, and want to talk, we'll take it back to the training aspect. A lot of the stuff that what I'm doing with the body center training or the tack wads, especially with the tactical training, the base part of it is a periodization. It's real base for more general. It's not as complicated as a conjugate. And it's funny you mentioned Wendler because a lot of what I've learned was from 531, and that's transferred to the base of doing the main lifts with the tackwad stuff now. So it has that powerlifting plus a mix of other things that I've trial and error over the year, tried myself, other people, and have put into it. You said you were doing a lot more of, kind of the west side and the powerlifting. How much of an effect, did it make on function and carrying all that weight and having to hump and doing the PT test or basically any of the physical stuff you had to do compared to guys that just did the normal company or platoon PT compared to the shit you were doing?
I've always been a bigger dude. There's at one point when I was in, and doing PT because at Bragg, the infantry unit like that, we had a 270 was a standard PT score. It was like you will do this and you'll get at least this on your PT test, or you'll PT 5 times a day until you die. You know what I mean? So it was like my PT scores were not bad. 280, 290 roughly. Always had trouble with sit-ups. I don't know why. But at one point my body weight was, floated between 300 and 315. Lifting and stuff like that, which I carried it fine. I never had any real, knee or leg, back problems from all the running and stuff like that. But it was, you see those guys who could just run forever. You know what I mean? Would turn over 10-minute 2 miles and stuff on the PT test. A lot of these guys, doing stuff like this, you put a 45-pound ruck on their back and they're broke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like we're carrying, we're doing stuff like that. We're going in and it's like rucking and stuff like that, more, I don't want to say actual soldiering, but, you were in long enough. Never did you put on a power belt and jog at a 9-minute mile pace to a firefight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's not like, let me take all my let me put my PT gear on and
yeah.
About 2 miles away, or let me get over there.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So it was, for me, it was the actual functional aspect of it was better. You do training jumps and stuff like that, and they're like, here, carry everything ever issued to the company. U8 guys are going to carry it, stuff like that. It was always I wouldn't have, I didn't carry an M4 until I'm 85. It was a saw gunner, and it was an ammo bearer, and it was a saw gunner, and it was a machine gunner, and then a machine gun team leader. You know what I mean? So it was like, oh sweet, now that I'm an NCO, I've got a burner, little pew pew.
That's where I guess I got lucky when I showed up at there. They were like, what do we need? We're going to put you in this platoon, and they look. I'm in the LT's office, and it's like, oh, we need just a regular, just a regular guy.
Just need a rifleman.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. I'm expecting they're going to be like, here's your 240, or, here's this, or, we're going to put you on the mortar platoon and you're going to have to fucking jump with the base. And then I'm like, oh, this is all I got. I don't have to carry it. Like, okay.
Yeah. That's what they were like. Oh, here, you're going to need 800 rounds for this machine gun and a spare barrel and a tripod. And you're going to have your own weapon. And here's some more ammo. Take these mortar rounds. We need somebody to carry these batteries, plus just your personal stuff. Yeah. Here's 87 gallons of water because it's 140 degrees. You know what I mean? We carried, they actually did a gigantic field test. I want to say the average load, like for a machine gunner at this point, was like 187 pounds, counting, well, just say counting, you know, your IBA and your Mitch and stuff like that, you know, but like with a weapon and everything else, like 150 or 180 pounds, something like that. So, I mean, it was, you know, somebody that's with no strength, you know, as far as that goes, is just not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's one of those things that it was it's like anything else, because we were doing, I don't want to call them forced marches, but there were times when they would drop us off somewhere and they'd be like, yeah, we're going to go clear this village that's, you know, 10 kilometers away. Okay, walk there. You know, so you'd walk there and, yeah, this village is literally some dude in a field with 2 goats. And they would call it in and like, okay, we're going to walk over here. But, I mean, you ended up working, you know, walking around and doing stuff literally 20 hours a day for 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
You know, that was the first time I was in Afghanistan. It was like, it sucked. You know, it would break you off. You have guys, you know, hot weather injuries all the time, guys taking IV bags and shit like that. So, I mean, but it definitely helped, you know, much more than the running and
The
stuff.
fucking PT and training that the big army does, even the smaller army, you know, they're catching on to it more now. And that's one thing, you know, Matt and I obviously talked about a lot of stuff he's done. And, you know, we went into in depth on a lot of that and what they're doing and kind of the changes that need to be made. So yeah, you know, it's so I was never big on, you know, well, it's not like I was bad at PT or things like that, but I wasn't like a crazy stud, because to me, I hated doing them. Like when I had to do a PT test, it was like, oh God, like I did not like it for some reason. Like maybe just having it because it's a test and I thought it was stupid anyways. Like what does this matter of how fast I'm going to run a 2 mile and do these push-ups and sit-ups compared to anything that I'm supposed to do as my job? You know, that's like there's nothing to it. But I, you know, whatever the fuck their standard is, which hopefully they're starting to change on that. But, you know,
I mean, they were talking about changing that shit when I went through basic training in 2001. Like they just started with the new PTs and we were doing like power skips and they're like, yeah, they're going to be new PT tests. You know, I got out in 2005 and I got buddies that are still there in 2010, 2011. You know, some of the dudes are still in talking about there's still push-ups and sit-ups and a 2 mile run.
Yeah. It's like they've given some things and slightly changed with some of the warm-ups and things that they do, which are better now, instead of just like, here you go. Well, it's just like they actually do some pretty decent warm-ups, but it's still just push-ups and sit-ups, you know. And I hear, you know, you see in the Army Times, oh, there's this new like real test where you got to run and do something wearing a kit and this and that, and they're testing it out. And it's like, I just see photos. I've never seen anybody do this. It's like a photo.
Ranger battalions are doing it. I know that much.
Yeah, like, I've heard some of my buddies, you know, and I've heard in some of the, you know, some of the groups are starting to kind of, they don't really do the normal PT tests. They're kind of doing a little bit more real shit, I guess is what you could say. You know, some more actual real testing.
I don't even know if they do PT tests over there. I don't really think they did. Maybe like once a year just for a record.
Yeah.
But you get to that point. I mean, you get to that point too. It's like being a professional athlete. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, we're not really going to have a standardized PT. You know, you're here. We expect you to do it. You know what I mean? You know what is required of you. Get it done.
Yeah, they're not going to be fat, lazy pieces of shit.
Yeah.
So
privates. There are no privates.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, they did a PT test where I'm sure nobody did a PT test at all. They just marked it down as everybody did, and they're doing
National Guard.
Yeah, they're doing their own type of PT stuff. But you know, it's slowly. I think it's something that's making it in there that guys are seeing like, hey, you actually should be doing, you know, the main lifts, lifting heavy, not just trying to do some shit you found in Muscle Mag or something and some weak ass just let me go run and this and that. Like there is a point obviously to being able to have better conditioning but you can do a lot of that stuff. Like Matt and I've talked about a lot of things I teach people. It's like, yeah, we do some runs to specifically because I have certain guys that are getting ready for selection or ranger school. So they need to be able to still meet standards and be used to it. But the majority of what a lot of it is not, okay, let's go run 5 miles and let's do this and that. Like there's more of a strength aspect to it. Some of the guys, a little bit more bodybuilding because they're small. They need to put on some more size in general. Because you can be strong, but if you're still a twig, that 100+ pounds is still going to crush you a lot more than if you were strong and put on, 20, 30 pounds of muscle over an extended period of time.
Well, and that's, as far as that goes, like with two things, something like that, just talking about the weight loss is because it's like, especially like at ranger school, so selection is a bit different. Like at ranger school, you don't eat, you don't sleep. You know what I mean? So you're going to end up losing this, and this is for somebody, it's my size at 260, that somebody else's size at 180. You're going to lose 15 or 20 pounds of muscle, stuff like that because you're underfed, underrested. You know what I mean? And it's chronic. It's not like, we're going to go to the field for 2 days. You spend 2 weeks in the field and eat 2 MREs a day. And that's it. You know what I mean? Up 20 hours, 22 hours a day, stuff like that.
Ass off.
Yeah, so a lot of it, there's just, there's going to be muscle loss that happens. And the thing that it is me going from 260 to 230 is, a lot less damaging to, my performance and my goals, that are directly related to that performance than somebody that's going from 180 to 150 or even to like 165. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That 10 pounds is much bigger because the weight they're carrying is the same.
Yeah, your total percentage is a lot less than their total percentage of loss.
Yeah.
You have more than they do. That it's, if you lose 20 pounds or they lose 20 pounds, it's going to be a lot higher percentage of total weight loss than you.
Yeah, exactly. You got that too. And I think, part of it, like you were talking about just with the simple stuff is, I don't know if you've trained, just standard every day, Joe Blow and his wife that want to lose 10 pounds for a vacation they're taking. The thing with the soldiers, especially like we were talking about a second ago with the SF guys or, even police officers, stuff like that, is they realize that there's a standard that has to be met and they are training to meet that standard. With Joe Blow and his wife, they need the stuff to be fun, which I know sounds awful. Everybody hates it, but that's why you see guys doing battle ropes, standing on 2 BOSU balls with a weight vest on. You know what I mean? Because it's not for, for a standard guy just training clients off the street, it's not simply results oriented.
Yeah.
Anybody who's trained people tell you that, they need something that is different, that is fun to do, come to them and they need to feel like you've got some sort of secret so they're getting their money's worth. It's not a deal to where like, oh, fuck, we squat and deadlift twice a week and bench twice a week. And, well, I can do that. What am I paying this guy for? They don't realize the aspect, the things that are involved in the programming. So you have them do, reverse band chin-ups with a fucking TRX and, some vow slides or some stupid shit like that. But they're like, oh, this is really fun. And they have no idea what they're doing, so it hurts really bad. So they see it as effective. It's like you walk through any commercial gym and you're like, wow, look at this trainer wasting this person's money. They're doing like pistol squats with a dumbbell overhead and one out in front of them and pressing and curling. And
you see when, you see it on base, obviously, like as far as Garrison goes, but when you're overseas and you're at a lot, there's all these boxes at every single fucking like base. The smallest base out there is going to have a CrossFit box on it, but the majority of them don't know what the fuck they're doing. Again, like Matt and I talked a lot about like the CrossFit and the Olympic lifting. Because all of my stuff, like if people are like, I want to do Olympic lifting, well, sorry, I'm not your guy because I don't teach the Olympic lifts. I'd rather teach squat, bench, deadlift, and a press.
Yeah.
For many reasons we'll get into, but back to what you see is like you said, like these guys, they see CrossFit and they're like, oh, I want to do CrossFit and this and that. And I it can be effective, but you have to know what the hell you're doing, and most of these guys don't. And they're doing all these crazy things and, trying to do this and do that. And it's like, what the hell are you doing? Because they want to have it look cool and feel like they're working really hard, but in turn they really don't know how to put it together in a carryover to an actual tactical operator type of an environment of what you have to do. They pull up, oh yeah, they literally, like when I was in, Kuwait the last year, one of the boxes, I talked to some captain at one of them just because I wanted to talk to him. He was like trying to get me to sign up and come and this and that. And I'm like, no, it's cool. I got my own thing. I didn't tell him that, but he's like, yeah, we just, do the WOD of the day, this and that. And I'm like, fuck, like there's no program. They just literally look on CrossFit, take the WOD, and they all do it.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's like you've got, to be completely honest, you look at your standard, especially on like the military, LEO side, you look at your standard dude, your standard soldier, or your standard, street cop. Most of them don't need more than that. You know what I mean? And I say this, I know you mentioned Facebook earlier, and I've just been on Facebook. I'm a total CrossFit hater. I'll be completely honest, it's total bullshit. You know what I mean? Like CrossFit is not, some of these guys just rail on it. But it's like these dudes are training how they want to. You know what I mean? I'm not so high and mighty. Like I'll talk shit for sure. I'm not so high and mighty that like if some dude's like, oh, I train CrossFit, and be like, you're a dipshit. You're an idiot. Stuff like that. They're like, oh, well, they don't train right, and so on and so forth. Some of these guys will, I'll argue with guys like who will come at you and tell you like, oh, CrossFit's the best way to train as a SWAT officer or, somebody trying to get into special forces. CrossFit's the best thing to do because that's not true at all. But and this has been said, I've said this before. A lot of people have said this before, probably said it before me, to be completely honest. But, CrossFit has brought, strength training, a level of popularity that powerlifting is not going to touch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got all sorts of girls that want to squat heavy and, do Olympic lifts and presses and shit like that, which 6 years ago, before CrossFit caught on, nobody was doing that,
I'm talking about their snatch.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? But it's like, and these guys too, it's funny because powerlifters talk shit on these guys that are not strong, but it's like I saw, it may have been 2 years ago now at this point, CrossFit Games, and I see Rich Froning, and granted he's the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
But this was, it's not something ridiculous, but this dude's weighing like 200 pounds, and they're doing the clean ladders. They start at like 135, and it goes up like 20 or 40 pounds, and literally the bars are loaded, and you do it for a rep, and you go to the next station. You've got like 1 minute, do it, and go on and so forth. So essentially these dudes are hitting like 15 reps, in 10 minutes, 12 minutes, what have you. Well, this dude, literally, he cleaned 365, just missed 405, and then after having worked from 135 to 365, missing 405, pulled 405 for like 12, and it was done. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's not a guy in powerlifting that'll do that. Well, I say this, there are, but they're few and far between, and it's not the guys who are running their mouths about how weak these CrossFit guys are.
Yeah. And that's
it's bad.
The CrossFit guys, it's like a lot of people don't understand, and I've talked about it, and I think Matt and I kind of brought it up because, like you said, I tell everybody, I have the biggest love-hate for CrossFit. I'm not a big CrossFit person, this and that. And I know a lot of people are probably like, what? Like I told you, because I use the whole TAC WODs thing, but it's not CrossFit. People don't know that, and that's why I try and tell people. But the things that I don't like, it's almost like a half and half. The things I do are like that. It's brought such a huge following and awareness as far as just training goes to a giant population worldwide now that wasn't there before. People didn't want to do bodybuilding. Powerlifting has always just been its thing. I think it's obviously grown recently, but like I said, it's not going to touch CrossFit and all of these people that are way into the community. And it's kind of awesome. Like they've built a fucking sport out of it that is gigantic. Reebok sponsor, it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
But with that being said, there's a lot of shitty people that don't know what the hell they're doing. There's a lot of bad boxes, but I know plenty of guys that are friends of mine that have good boxes, and then people don't understand, like soldiers and civilians, they see these high-level athletes, like you're saying, that are more of they're genetic freaks, a lot of them. They're just natural talent, and like I said, they're the exception, and these guys aren't doing the WOD of the day. They're not going to work out. They actually have a structured, specific, which goes to the same of what we're saying when you're doing training within the military, or whether you're law enforcement or things like that, whether it's big Army or you're in, under US SOCOM, things like that. There's a specific of, you can't just do the workout of the day. Yeah, it's better than nothing, where a lot of guys like, yeah, I do CrossFit because I'm better shape than ever. Well, yeah, look at the standard of the normal training everybody does. It's like comparing curves to just going into the gym and actually doing weightlifting. There's obviously CrossFit's going to be better, but knowing what the hell you're doing and how to have that carry over into the actual application of what you're doing is where I think a lot of people fall short.
Yeah, well, most of the time, and I don't mean to interrupt you here, but you have to stop and realize too, most of the time, 98% of your CrossFitters are training to look better naked. You know what I mean? They don't give a shit about the programming. They don't care if their max squat is 205 or, 500 for two. So long as they look good, your girlfriend comes up and is like, damn, look at you. Your boyfriend's like, wow, I can't keep my hands off of you. You know what I mean? Like, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So for what 98% of the people who are going to CrossFit gyms are trying to do, it's perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It gets somebody off of his couch, lets him come in, and they say the workouts are scaled. I've still on the fence about that. I've talked to there's actually a box inside my jiu-jitsu academy where the guys are like, yeah, it's scaled, and like scaled as like an 18-inch box versus 24, for box jumps, which is, I honestly don't think somebody that's never trained before should be doing 18-inch box jumps for as many reps as possible.
Yeah.
What have you, but that's a theory stuff. But I mean, it's, for the average guy, like my mom's like, hey, I'm going to do CrossFit. What do you think? I'm like, hey, get after it. You're spending too much money to go to the gym, but it'll work real well for you. And that's what's the thing too that's funny is there's a lot of money in it.
Oh yeah, and that's like what I'm saying. Where it's like I have a love for, like, whether I have a lot of conflicting things that I agree and disagree with what they do. It's better than nothing. So if it's gotten so many people, like I said, to get off their ass and actually get in and find something that's like, I've had people that I've talked to that they weren't too into training. They got into CrossFit and now they're addicted to it and they love it. And I'm like, that's great. I'm not going to tell them not to go this and that. There was a girl that I was, helping before trying to get into training, and she just kind of was not feeling it. And then her parents gave her a gift certificate for a month to a CrossFit place, and she's hooked. And, and she told me this and that, and I was like, that's great. I was like, I don't feel bad that, you didn't, want to listen to some of the things that I said, this and that. I'm like, you're there, you like it. To me, that's all that matters. If you're addicted and you want to do CrossFit, fucking great, because you're doing more than what you were doing before of just being lazy.
Exactly. And CrossFit is amazing for people where training outcomes don't matter.
Yeah.
That's just like I know they have their benchmark WODs and stuff like that, like Fran or.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm not even going to attempt recalling names. I know Fran has one. So always joke about being able to do it in like 8 seconds. But I mean, they have their benchmark WODs. The problem with it is, like, the thing that I don't like about it, as far as like talking about the athlete side of it, stuff like that, is you get to the point, it's like, because they'll do it, like, say they do it today. Well, they may not do it again until sometime in late August.
Yeah.
But they have 45 different, training, programs that they'll do, just, microcycles training, just daily training programs that they do. And you get there and you're like, well, yeah, my frame time is 7 seconds better. where it's like with how you structure your training or how my training, was structured when I was doing the strength training, or now that it's geared towards jiu-jitsu, I can go back and look and be like, okay, A, B, and C led to this, 7-second reduction.
Yeah.
CrossFit, they're doing so much shit that you can't tell, oh, yeah, well, these timed 400 repeats really work for me, but these 2-mile runs are no good.
Yeah.
So let's stay with the 400s and drop the 2 miles. They have absolutely, no idea what to do or what it was causing improvement with it. And that's the real goat for me. It's how do you know what you're doing to get better?
Yeah. No, I agree with you, because there's so many variables you can't tell, and that's one thing that I learned with a lot of people that have started with some of my other programs. And the tackle stuff is semi-different. They're still the same percentages, the same fucking main lifts, which I got from Wendler, that they're going to be there. And then there's some of the assistant work, changes, but not as rapidly. And then, the WODs will change a little bit more. And that's to, like you said, a little bit of breaking up the monotony that people are going to get bored, and then throwing in some of the cool shit that I've learned over the years with some of the odd implement stuff. But when you're just changing shit all over, you can't, if you go back and you're like, well, I'm not doing as good, you have no idea what the hell, or I did do good. Well, what made you do that? There's no way to tell. And I get people that come to like, well, but I've been doing kind of the same thing for 4 weeks. I'm like, not really. If you look back, like, here's the weight you started at. You've done this. We changed this. Next month, change a couple things. Like, oh, it's the same thing. I'm like, yeah, but if we change a bazillion shit, yeah, it's cool for you, but how do I know if all of a sudden you're not getting results?
Yeah.
I can't look back on it. And people are like, well, I want to do it. Well, sorry, I'm not for you then. If you want some crazy different shit every single day, go find somebody else that's going to do that, because I'm going to get you to where you want to be with the results on that, and be able to fix shit if it's not working, where somebody else, they're not going to be able to do that. They're just be like, well, let's do some other crazy fucking changes and maybe it'll work.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. Like I said, it's not bad. It's far from optimal for, like I said, the guys you're doing stuff with, for me, trying to improve, that's the thing too. Like a lot of people don't realize is strength training, for athletes, law enforcement guys like that, it's just GPP. That's all it is. You know what I mean? There's nobody cares, in a jiu-jitsu fight if I can squat 700 or if it's 680. They're like, holy shit, this guy's strong, or wow, this guy's weak. You know what I mean? Like that. Like, wow, he's really fast. He's in really good shape. It's not like a wow, yeah, he only benches 300, so I'm pretty sure I got this dude. You know what I mean? I mean, there's some guys that I train with that are 145 pounds and would throttle people. You know what I mean? Like they work my ass out. You know what I mean? I'm 260 pounds and it's just like literally getting abused by a child. These people are so little.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? So it's not like for me, absolute strength is not, the end goal. Being able to run a marathon, is not something that I'm training for. It's all, and there are times too where it's like me, if I feel like the training's too much and my jiu-jitsu training stuff, I'll roll it back. I may not go to the gym. It's one of those, I'm fortunate the fact I've been at it long enough that I know when to do that, when not to do that, like, oh, you just been eating like shit and you haven't slept for 2 days versus where you're just beat down, you need to stay home from the gym.
Yeah.
Things like that. But I mean, that's the biggest thing, like stuff that you're going to do for people, especially when, it's performance, oriented, like with your soldiers, the guys getting ready to go to Ranger school. You know what I mean? Because they take the first thing they do when they get there is they sign in and take a PT test. You know what I mean? Fail the PT test. Hey, thanks for your time. Beat it.
Yeah.
There's not a retake. There's not a, same way with like the 5-mile run and all the other shit they do. It's not like, oh, thanks for coming out. Just go ahead and hang out and we'll try this again tomorrow. They're like, cool, you're done here.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny that, there's a couple things that, you mentioned that I want to bring up. And like you're saying, for general people compared to more of the specialized and the carryover as far as like, we'll call the tactical area, it's having that brute strength, but a carryover of doing some of these more odd implements, things like that are going to throw it off. Like, yeah, again, it's better than nothing, but when you're in a firefight, you're having to carry a buddy or pick some shit up, or say you're even doing just some log PT as far as, we'll take it to the normal area too. What does it matter that how good you can fucking snatch or split jerk when, you got a ruck on and you're trying to run, you're in a firefight. Snatch really isn't going to matter a whole lot in there compared to having, being able to have the conditioning plus the strength from having a bar on your back, doing a bunch of squats, on a 3 or 5 rep range. That's going to make a bigger difference. And some people will say no, that's their opinion, but I'm sure you and I are kind of on the same stage. That's going to have more of a carryover. And doing some of these odd object training shit, like I love sandbags, doing crazy shit with carries and sandbags and presses, things like that's going to have more of a carryover than some of this other weird, just fancy looking shit that you see people do.
One leg kettlebell, stiff legs and shit like that. So some of it, I mean, it's like you said, it's gotten kind of out of control stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. Totally.
Honestly, like there's only a couple guys I can think of off the top of my head that won't get stronger doing squats, deadlifts, presses, bench. You know what I mean? To where they need to do, something. I don't want to say crazy, but something that far out of the normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, well, they're still doing chins and deadlifts and rows, and their back's getting bigger and they're getting stronger. Their deadlifts going up because the chins and the rows are improving. You know what I mean? And these are guys that are 700-800 pound deadlifters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're close to limit strength, even if they're on drugs. Even if you don't take that in, these are near limit strength guys, and they are noticing, good solid improvements just from doing barbell rows.
Yeah, throwing accessory work. And that's kind of where I try and bridge some of that gap in with some of the TACWA stuff. It's like the majority, well, pretty much all these guys, they're not anywhere near a peak strength performance. So having them build up that base and then throwing in the barbells or and then taking in some of the strongman style odd implement stuff that's going to have more of the throw you off kind of a carryover, because it's an odd object. It's fucking weird. It's not perfect all the time. So that'll have a carryover of doing that with that. And then kind of the thing that I was going to say was some of that stuff of doing the more of a powerlifting style strength plus the conditioning, and then some of this other, we'll call the accessory work stuff. One of my buddies, now I'm doing training stuff with him. Before he just got out of Ranger Battalion. When he went to Ranger School, he was kind of doing something similar. I was talking to him recently when he was starting up the TACWADS program, and I was like, hey, well, what were you doing before? Because he said he went straight through Ranger School, which isn't like that's not rare. A lot of people get caught up, but it's not like it's rare that people go straight through.
Yeah.
But he killed it. He said it was easy, which is kind of an odd, like, yeah, he said it sucked, but he's like, it was not as hard as what people make it sound or what he thought it was going to be, because he was doing 5-3-1 and then kind of a mix of a SEAL fit type thing, which is, more of a CrossFit. And he said he did great, and he attributed a lot of that to the rucking, things like that, of being able to handle the weight, because he was a smaller guy too, like you were saying earlier, 170, 175 pounds. He lost a lot, but he was still able to keep up because he had more of a strength, maximal, submaximal strength mixed with a better conditioning on top of that. And he said it made a huge difference. And then when I kind of showed him this stuff, he's like, wow, this is kind of what I'm doing. But he's like, you actually have filled in a few gaps that I didn't know, or, didn't know what to put in there. And he's like, I would love to do this and go back through the program and, go back through Ranger School and see how it goes. Go for it. Go, because we can't pause it, so go for it.
I'll be right back.
Here's what happens when you do live interviews. So I wish I knew some talents for people while Jason takes his quick little break there. Anybody that's watching this stuff, if you guys got questions on any of the training aspect, whether you're a civilian that just wants to train like a badass, if you are within the military or you're looking to get into it, that's plenty of what we have and what we're doing. I got guys that just started that are looking to get into the military, whether it's Army. I got a guy getting ready to get into the Royal Marines now, guys going through getting ready for selection, guys that are actually in special operations. It's definitely something we can do and help you guys out with. So if you guys got questions, always feel free to hit me up on Facebook or shoot me an email at contact@tackwads.com, and I will help anybody out with what they need. If it's just a few questions, this and that, or you guys want to jump on and actually get some training within the program, it's pretty. Of course, I'm going to say it's pretty awesome. It's definitely one of the best programs I think I've ever done and put through, and the beta testing of it is done really well, and we keep improving on it more and more and more. So it's just going to get better and better from there. So I'm excited for it. So if anybody's got any questions, please let us know. And as always, I appreciate everybody taking their time to watch some of the craziness that goes on with these interviews. Everybody's time is important. So hope you guys enjoy all of these interviews, the one I'm doing with Jason now, and then plus all the many other interviews you can find on our YouTube channel, which obviously if you're watching this, it'll be an easy link to get to, but youtube.com/bodysynergytraining.
I can hear you, man, if you want to talk. I'm just trying to fix something real fast.
Yeah, no, I figured you were kind of close by. I could hear some clanking around and shit.
That's me.
Well, I don't know, is there anything else you kind of want to add for anybody, in there? We've kind of covered a lot.
I don't know, man. It's your deal. I've got pretty much free all day. Got some food to make later, but other than that, I can pause Netflix, and that's about it, really.
You're awesome. What did you? Well, we'll just throw some randomness in here. Then, what did you watch today on some Netflix?
Oh God, it was a shitty documentary on. Actually, it was shit. It got really weird, really delved off. You've seen the picture, I'm sure, New York City from the 20s. Iron workers. There's like 11 of them sitting on a rail eating lunch.
Yeah.
It was essentially those guys are working come to find out they're working on the Rockefeller building. They were 50 on the 57th floor. They were 800 feet off the ground. It's like that, but just talking about some of the history, the pictures, stuff like that. I watched some Nip Tuck, which is kind of it's not good, but it's not bad. It's just kind of there. It's been about it really for Netflix. Just kind of. I've been talking to Jessica, texting stuff like that. She's got to work tonight. Just kind of hanging out and all this stuff, today being Memorial Day, things like that, those people.
Yeah. Have you ever watched Strike Back?
Watched what?
Strike Back?
No, I don't think I have.
Yeah, you got to check it out. It was originally on Sky, that big European UK channel or network. And then Cinemax bought it and turned it into an original series, which it's like I always tell people it's like 24 on like meth and steroids.
So European TV is crazy, man. That's what we watch a shitload of Gordon Ramsay, and it's funny because he's foul mouthed. I have a buddy who's actually from the UK, moved to Australia with his girlfriend, which is pretty sweet. But he's real big into rugby stuff. But like. Dude, I just asked him, I'd be like, they don't censor TV in England. It's not censored. So you got Gordon Ramsay in there, and he's cussing these dudes out, and they're dropping F-bombs on each other. I'm like, holy shit. Like, my kids are running around. It's like, whoa, we're going to have to turn this off. Like, I don't even. Yeah, UK TV is pretty sweet. I still haven't really gotten into Top Gear. Apparently, it's the best show ever in the history of the universe.
Top Gear is the shit. I like it way better than the U.S. version.
I haven't watched it. I honestly, man, like, I've got Netflix and stuff, so this is going to sound kind of hypocritical, but I haven't had cable TV in 3 years. You know what I mean? Like, I'll go over if there's a big football game or something. Excuse me. If there's a big college football game on or something like that, I'll go over to Windler's house and we'll sit around and watch it. But I don't. We watch Netflix and that's about it. Don't really miss TV.
I don't know if Netflix because I don't know if they have Cinemax HBO shit on there. Definitely check out Strike Back though. I think you probably, because it's, like I said, it's action, and I always tell people, everybody I've told about it that was in military or is, or that it's the most realistic like action type show you'll see like that, because they actually use like team tactics, like the guys. It's not cheesy. Like they look like they really know what the fuck they're doing, because they actually had people that taught them like how they reload when they talk to each other. Like it's like real deal shit. So that's always one. And it's funny because I was looking it up today because they're doing a final season. When you're talking about shows, and I'm like, let me see when this show, and they had to like put off till like later this year. So I was kind of pissed about that one today. All right. I guess we'll kind of cut it there.
All right, man. That's what I'm sorry, a party pooper. It's like I could talk forever, dude. But as far as like, I think we should talk about this. Yeah, I don't really have much.
I could just pull shit out of my ass. I could be like, what music or this or that, like just random shit. Like,
random music. Honestly, dude, you laugh at this. As of late, it's been a lot of country music. Just it's I don't want to say that it's soothing, but it's vastly different. I've been fairly stressed. It's my personal life. I've had some stuff going on with work, his families, relationship, standard life stuff. But it's just kind of all piled on at once. I had a friend that was very, very close to me pass away a couple weeks ago, and it was out of nowhere. He just the angry coach, Bob Islandfeld.
Yeah.
He had a pulmonary embolism, just died. I talked to him, texted him probably 3, 4, 5 days before. He and Brian Carroll had worked on a book. Brian, I don't know if you're familiar with it, Brian's new book.
Yeah. No, it was funny. He added me on Instagram today, and I shot him a message back about doing a interview on here.
Yeah, Brian's a great dude. He's very animated. He's very intelligent. Like that. But anyway, Bob had written a book with Brian. Bob was the editor, and I'd been friends with Bob for a long time. But Brian was talking to him all the time, and was at work and got a text message like, "Hey, did you hear Bob died?" And I was like, "What?" Kind of random, like I said, because I'd talked to him a couple of days prior to, and then just found out that he had taken a flight. He and his girlfriend had gone to California. I don't know if they were in Napa or somewhere like that. It's the weekend. The two of them bed and breakfast stuff in California and flown back, and apparently had some blood clots and stuff in his legs. Apparently one of the clots went and pulmonary embolism, and he died. So like that's stressful like that. It's been very busy, forgetful. It's me. I got hit in the head once. Did I tell you that? Dude, I've got a I'll see if I can't send it to you on Facebook. I don't want to go and look for it now, but I've got my helmet. Like when I got hit with that IED, my arm was hanging out. I was riding behind a driver. My arm was hanging out the window. And like I got a piece of like it literally right behind would be behind my left ear on the inside of the helmet. Like it's actually torn a little bit on the outside, and some of the green paint is knocked off. But it looks like literally like a fist print through the Kevlar. It's completely bashed in. Like if I wouldn't have my helmet on, we wouldn't be talking right now.
Yeah.
Like that, but it really jacked up my short-term memory. Well, it was like earlier when you were like, I was like, hey, I'm going to be home in a few minutes. And you're like, hey, we are going to do this later. Like I'd completely forgotten that we said that we were going to do it later.
Yeah, no worries. I know how that is. I got a few friends that have, been rocked a few times, and they're a little forgetful at times.
Oh man, it's gotten a lot better, man. Sometimes it sucks. I still find myself, I'll like say we're done here, I'll get up and I need to go to the grocery store for this. And I'll walk out to the car and be driving and get halfway there and have no fucking idea where I'm going. Just
like where the fuck and what?
I mean, it sucks, you know. Learn to deal with it, but there are times where I'll go to the grocery store and be there for, I've gone for 2 things. Like I have to write everything down.
Yeah.
For stuff like that. And I honestly have been bad about it and I've just not been writing stuff down. I'll go to the store and be there for 40 minutes because I've gone through 3 things and can't remember 2 of them.
I even went the other day. I wrote a list and I still forgot like 4 things.
Yeah.
My friend's like, didn't you write a list? I'm like, yeah, I did. And I still forgot like 2 important things I needed. And I was like, fuck it. I'm not going back. I'll do that later. It's not important enough to go back for that.
Well, I'm to that point too. It's like I just like the things that the actual necessary, mandatory for life type things. I'll just keep so much of in the house, or like I can't run out.
Oh yeah, I go like when I go to the store, like it's funny. They'll be like, I get excited when I go in and I see they just restocked all the spinach because I'm the guy that goes over and I just start grabbing every single bag and I just toss them in my cart. I'm like, well, you guys got to restock this now. Like, they probably just know, like, oh, here's that fucking guy that buys all the broccoli and spinach that we have. So, all right, man. Well, I'll cut this short. I'll cut it here, and we'll cut it off there. I think it was pretty good. There's a lot of info in here, a lot of fucking randomness, which is cool. And
what you get with me? I'm sorry.
Hey, I like it. I dig it. It's cool to get you on. I had Paul Carter on. We talked some randomness and then a lot of life.
Sexual Jesus. Did you talk about the sexual Jesus story?
No, I wish I would have known, so I would have been able to ask him that one.
No, it's funny, man. Paul is a guy that I've known for a long time and is one of my best friends in the world. He and I argue a lot. We're currently in the middle of an argument. I'll say this. I think he was wrong, and I'm being an asshole about it. I'll be completely honest, like that. But it started out, Paul, just in his stories about women and all the relationship advice and stuff like that, and we just not necessarily laugh at him, but just like this dude's just always talking about this shit. And somebody, like, I can't remember, it may have been Jessica or myself, just somebody called him sexual Jesus. Because he's going to heal all these bitches. Something like that, and it just stuck. But like, if you look at his Facebook page now, it'll say sexual Jesus on it. That's his job.
I got to check that out. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Paul's a good dude. His training stuff is really good.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a lot of good stuff. And he was a good interview on here that we had, and I was talking to him about trying to get – because when I originally had my site – years ago before the military, and then it crashed while I was gone, this and that, I lost a bunch of interviews, and I had Wendler on, and I've been trying to get him, but Paul's like, nope, I highly doubt you'll get him on there. And he's Wendler? Like, yeah. Like,
dude, you're going to –
he's like, nope.
I could try and help you, dude, but I mean, it's – fuck, dude.
That's exactly what he said.
Well, I mean, I say this, Jim, and I'm very happy for him, but he's to the point in his life, and this does not sound disrespectful to you, but where he doesn't need to do an interview with you.
Yeah.
You may catch him at a good time, and like he'll talk a bullshit, but it may be a thing, too, where you're trying to catch him about training, and all he wants to talk about is music, and that's all he'll talk to you about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why, luckily I have the recording, and I got to upload it on here. Because I did one with him when he was still at Elite. Like, he was actually at the office. I called him on the phone, and we did one, and it was awesome. People loved it because, we talked about, life and training and this and that. And it wasn't like, 5, 3, 1, this and that. Like, it was more like, raw basics and shit. And hell, I would have him on just to talk about music and fucking motorcycles and whatever.
But it's like now, man, it's like he's like wife, kid, house, nothing else.
Yeah.
Like he done, and I mean it's awesome, and it sounds bad. It sounds like I'm bitching or griping. I'm very happy for him because it's literally like he doesn't want to leave his house, so he doesn't.
Yeah,
he works from home. Him and the wife and the kid, they go, and he'll go to Texas and see his other son. But other than that, it's like he doesn't really get out of the house because he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
He's literally like it's almost. I don't want to say it's jealousy for me, but I'm very envious of the fact that he has everything that he wants and needs. Could want or need at his house now. So he just doesn't have to do anything.
I was surprised to see
got it all.
I've seen him on Instagram lately, and then even some posts on Facebook with training. I was like, wait, what the fuck? Because I hadn't seen him forever, and even people were posting comments like he's alive. So, all right, cool. Well, that works. Like I said, we'll cut it here. Then we can keep fucking blabbing on and on and on. But I'm sure people will be like, "Hey, just shut the hell up."
Shut it off at their leisure. It's the best part about interviews like these is supposed to pause or close the window. They don't have to see that shit. That's bad. I'm sorry.
Well, I appreciate it, and thanks everybody for watching. And stay tuned for more fucking random crazy interviews.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Ed.